Well, it's a Monday. The hockey season's upon us. So, it's time to go wild. Time to Go Wild radio show here on Halton Community Radio 92.3 FM between 7 and 8 every Monday night. We are live across the internet, of course, on ws.hcr923fm.com and on the TuneIn app. You can contact the studios, radio at widnesworld.co.uk by the email. We have the Facebook page, facebook.com/ttgw radio. Put the same bit at the end of twitter.com. Oh boy, the season's here. So, it's time to go wild. Evening, Doug.
Hello, how are you?
Well, you can probably hear from my voice, and everyone's probably realised, who's this guy on the end of the microphone sounding like Barry White on gravel?
Hello, how are you?
Yeah, well, it was a big weekend across all of hockey this weekend, no doubt, for everybody, I think.
Yeah, it was difficult for the teams with double headers.
Yeah.
Getting the legs back into shape after a long off-season.
Well, the WD-40's been out, the pre-season's underway in some of the leagues. For some teams, it's underway. I think we better do the classified roundup before we get really bogged down in stuff, don't you?
Oh, yes. Good idea.
Here we go. Okay, time for the big classified roundup of the hockey results from around the leagues. We start with Champions Hockey League. From Thursday, Nottingham Panthers 4, Mountfield HK 3 after overtime, Cardiff Devils 3, Billing Traig Liberec, if I got it right, 7. On Saturday, Nottingham Panthers 4, SC Bern 2. And on Sunday, Cardiff Devils 4, HC Davos 3. In the Elite Ice Hockey League Challenge Cup, Saturday, Dundee Stars 3, Belfast Giants 2 after a shootout, Braehead Clans 7, Manchester Storm 5. Moving on to Sunday in the Elite Ice Hockey League Challenge Cup, Manchester Storm 4, Braehead Clan 1. Meanwhile, in the NIHL D1 Morally on Saturday, Billingham Stars 11, Dragons D1 3. Telford Tigers D1 4, Sheffield Steel Dogs 3 after a shootout. On Sunday, Dragons D1 2, Solway Sharks 13, Blackburn Hawks D1 3, Billingham Stars 2, Solihull Barons 4, Sheffield Steel Dogs 5, Nottingham Lions 2, Telford Tigers D1 5. Moving down now into NIHL D2 Laidler. Saturday, Bradford Bulldogs 0, Widnes Wild 5, Dragons D2 1, Sheffield Senators 23, Coventry Blaze NAHL 10, Blackburn Hawks D2 2, Altrincham Aces 8, Telford Tigers D2 1. And finally from Sunday, Telford Tigers D2 16, Dragons D2 1. And the other important score, Widnes Wild 5, Coventry Blaze NIHL 2. A big weekend, big results, and some very, very big scores across the leagues and across the teams. Join us every week for a full roundup of your results across the hockey, across the North and the Elite League. Well, some big ones in that, weren't there, Doug?
Yeah, it led to a question. We were out with some of the Wild players on Saturday, and I said to him, "What's the biggest score you've had against you?"
Oh, what was it?
44-0.
Ouch. 44.
44-0.
What were they playing? What level?
I don't know. It was Andy Turner said. So we'll have to get Andy Turner on the phone sometime and ask him.
Yeah, I don't.
That could be a new question we ask people. What's the biggest defeat you've inflicted, and what's the biggest defeat that's been inflicted on you?
Yeah, I've come across some that have been like 10 or 11, but 23. That's Well, yeah, it's going to make for some interesting lineups this coming season across the the NIHL leagues this year. I think both North and South. Well, we shall move on to introduce our very special guest, and here's a very special guest this week, is it not?
Oh, it is. Yes, it's someone who sits in the background. People didn't really see him there. He hides behind something that.
A bit like me.
Yeah. So to actually know to meet him for the first time, it's, you're the man. You're the photographer.
Man with a very quick trigger finger, you could say, and a keen, very, very keen eye. To be honest, sometimes when I'm stood up there filming, it sounds like I've got a machine gun going off when his trigger finger goes. Please welcome.
It's our very own Geoff, the photographer.
Hello.
Good evening, Geoff. Thanks for coming and joining us on Time to Go Wild. So you've been with the Wild doing the photography since the very, very beginning. So, I mean, you've seen the club grow from a very, smallish entity, I could say, to where it is now. I mean, how have you found it from the very beginning with your photography and your take on the sport?
I started, as you say, before the Wild actually had their first league game, and I've been with them now all the way through, and I just love ice hockey. Wonderful sport for entertainment, and I've learnt a bit more as I've gone along about how to photograph it as a particular sport. Each sport has its own little intricacies that you need to try and learn, and I think I'm getting there with ice hockey now. So
getting there, crikey! Some of the shots I see, it's like you've been doing it for decades. I mean, you do a fair range of sports, though, don't you?
Yes, I do. Yes, most of the stuff that I do freelance is athletics, that sort of stuff, which I often do on a Sunday and then rush back to a Wild game from somewhere in mid-Wales where I've been doing a half marathon or something. But I also do American football, and my own sport, which I played, was hockey, field hockey.
What position were you playing mainly?
Centre forward.
Oh, you won't anyone who decided to go in goal. I mean, even field hockey.
I have played in goal in hockey, yes. And, not very well.
Would you say field hockey goaltenders are as crazy as ice hockey goaltenders?
Yeah, I would say. Because I've met them coming towards me as well. I'm a centre forward.
So, I mean, what made you sort of get involved with the Wild? Was it something you found out about and thought, well, go and check it out, or were you invited down, or?
It was. I was working on a triathlon, freelancing on a triathlon in North Wales, working for a guy who I still work for, and another photographer that was on the job with me. Turned out I'd never met him before, but was Pete Sheffield from D-Side Dragons. And I got talking to Pete, and he said, you should try ice hockey sometime. If you want to try, come down. And it was, I think, the following week, I was reading in the paper that a new rink had been built at Widnes, and they were about to form an ice hockey team. So I just dropped an email to the club and said, do you need anybody to take photos? And came down, met Matt Lloyd, met Dean Edwardson and Mick, and that was it. Then I carried on.
I mean, it is a. I mean, as we've known each other since the start. I live behind the cameras. Most of the people know me, hat on, and you're stood by me. I mean, we've had yourself plus a couple of other people up there, photography, taking photography stills, and it's. Each person says, but it's a very different style between action video and action stills. And each person has their own specific way of shooting it. I mean, some people have different settings. Is there any particular way in which you will shoot a different part of the game?
Yes, there's... depending what you're trying to achieve, depends on how you go about shooting a game. A lot of people will take low-level shots which can look great because you're really getting the faces of the players and you're into the action. Some shoot off the bench, which as club photographers you're allowed to go on the bench with the players. I wouldn't do that because I think you'd just get in the way anyway. But the second that gets you good action shots. The other way to approach the game and to approach shooting a game is to try and record the key moments in the game in a sort of journalistic way, so that anything big that happens out there on the ice, if you need a shot of it for the paper, then you really need to be in the elevated position so you can see the whole of the ice, rather than a goal being scored at the opposite end which you can't shoot, or a fight breaking out at the opposite end and you're not getting a photograph of it because you're at the wrong end of the ice. The elevated position at Widnes is perfect because from where we stand we can see both goal mouths, and with the lens I've got I can reach both goal mouths. So I try to concentrate on getting the key moments, such as the puck hitting the back of the net, any sort of action that happens in and around the goal mouth, and I can get the odd one in the middle as well from up there.
Yeah, it is a trick. I mean, following the game with the camcorder versus a stills camera, you're looking at it from a very different perspective of how you want, what you want to capture. And again, I mean, I'm always trying to capture the puck going into the net, but there's times where you get a still out of it, and there's no way, even with a motion camera close up, that you really can get that quality that you get with a proper still camera. And I mean, you brought some examples with you today, and some of the photographs you've been showing us before we came on air. I mean, where that puck is held, and the look sometimes on the players' faces are brilliant. Their expressions at times, they don't realise they're doing it.
Yeah.
He captured a really good one at Bradford, and he was showing me at the ice rink, and it was just fantastic. You could see frame by frame the puck moving almost into the back of the net, and the net exploding in the back when the water bottle goes up and all the rest of it. It's fantastic to watch.
It's something that's going back to what you were saying earlier about what I've learned from ice hockey that I didn't have from my other sports. That's one of the things that I've learnt as we've gone along, and that is to shoot with both eyes open, which means that you can be looking through the camera with one eye, but the other eye is following the player in, and it helps with the timing for the shots. So as you see a player come into the corner, you get a feel for when to fire to try and get that killer shot of the puck hitting the net, and I fire 3-shot bursts. So hopefully I'm already in focus because I pre-focus on the goalkeeper's chest pad, and then when the puck comes in, hopefully I'll freeze it in one of the 3 shots.
Yeah, I mean, it's as you're saying, you film with effectively with both eyes open. I mean, for me, I like have more than just 2 eyes on the game. It's like one on the camera, one over the camera, one somewhere on the bench, one in the crowd, one down the other end of the rink, and you're scanning so much at the same time. And you must be doing a similar thing when you're shooting one eye on the camera and one eye over it, just in case something else happens somewhere else.
Yes.
And
because usually things like fights break out after the puck's gone, so you have to keep an eye open for that to try and capture one of those shots if you need.
I mean the local paper really feels like the stuff you can send them. It's there's times when dare we say the rugby clubs get a bit sort of, what's going on here? Ice hockey's beating us with column inches, aren't they? I know everyone at Wild's going, oh, this is great. And it's just the fact that you can get some really good action shots in there, and digital photography has made that even more possible, hasn't it?
Oh yes, you couldn't do this without digital. You could never do it with old film.
Yeah, you may take it when you progress from film photography into digital. I mean, what would you say is the biggest change for your photography business, pastime, hobby, versus just normal photography.
The ability to shoot many, many images, which I'm not going to say for free because the equipment's expensive, but it used to be a few rolls of film and then a lot of money to get them developed and printed, and you didn't know what you got, or a lot of money to set up a studio of your own at home to develop and print. There was a lot of work went into actually viewing and looking at what you'd achieved. Now you can see it on the back of the camera straight away, and if it's no good, you take another one. That's a huge development, you know.
Yeah.
How would you, if someone wanted to get into photography, doing sports photography, was something they loved, how would you recommend they go about it to start with?
Go to a local amateur sports team and try it, and then I think after a bit of practice doing that at whatever sport's your favourite sport, because understanding the game is, I think that there's a certain level of photography that you need to understand, but beyond that, to do sports photography you need to understand the game, because that allows you to anticipate.
Yes.
You know what's likely to be coming next, and you can be in the right place at the right time, which increases your percentage chances of getting the shot, you know. So practice till you're at a certain confidence level, and then maybe a couple of training courses, because they do training courses.
So anybody in photographers out there, that's how you do it, but do it with your favourite sport, obviously.
I mean, we do have a chance for you to send questions in for sports photography to radio@widnesworld.co.uk, and we can pass them through to Geoff while we're on air. We should take a little break, and I think it's your first song. Should we go with, Geoff? And what was it you would like to hear?
And I can't remember which order.
I think it was the second one on your list, actually.
Chaka Khan.
That's the
Ain't
one.
Nobody.
This is Time to Go Wild Radio with gravelly voiced me, Col, and Doug.
Yeah, we're both gravelly voiced.
Yeah, well, that's what I get for being out from behind the camera. When they let me out my little box from behind the camera and I'm supporting, I tend to strip my throat, so that's why my voice sounds like Barry White on gravel. Well, we better let another little fella out of his box.
Yes.
He wants to speak to us, doesn't he?
He does. He's man of the match on Sunday.
Evening, Mikey.
Hello there.
Welcome back on air.
Thank you.
How are we doing?
I'm
Oh, you still there?
Yeah, I can hear.
Sorry, we lost you for a second then.
We missed how are you doing?
Yes, I'm good. Thank you.
Good.
How are you?
So I'm all right, thank you very much. How's the legs after the double header over the weekend?
Quite sore. We've got sore legs. Having 2 games to start the season, it's quite difficult.
Yeah, because it's there's no running to it. It's just you have to go at a certain level of speed, don't you?
Yeah, straight in there. Straight in.
Okay, so what did from the point of view of your the games, how did you feel that the team performed?
I thought we did quite well. With it being our first 2 games of the season, I thought we did quite well against 2 quite difficult teams to play against. They've improved this year from last year. I thought we did quite well. We went forward together pretty well, and then blocked out the defence with a shot out on the first game, and then only conceding 2 goals on the second. Yeah,
it was quite nice for you to score your inaugural goal in front of the home crowd.
Yeah, it was good scoring 2. I was hoping for 3, but it didn't quite come.
Well, there was 3 of us behind the net trying to blow the puck in every time you hit it, but it didn't quite work.
No, it mustn't have quite worked. But, oh well, it'll come. It'll come.
There. But it was from a crowd's point of view, the Sunday game was quite gritty and grimy.
Yeah, it was quite a gritty game. Not as gritty as Bradford, I'd say, but Coventry, they've seemed to put together a bit of a better squad, and then they seem to be quite digging in this time rather than just laying back, which was quite interesting to play against.
Yeah, there wasn't as many penalties in the game as there normally is against certain team. In Bradford there were quite a few penalties, but obviously against Coventry.
Yeah, I think there was only one power play and one short-handed.
Yeah, there was one power play. That's it. Yeah. So, would you like to ask him a question, Geoff?
Yeah, I thought you'd done really well last night, Mike. All of the lads over the weekend have really performed. Who do you see as being the main rivals for this season?
I'd definitely say my old team, Altrincham. They're definitely going to be our main rivals this year. They've built up a strong squad, but we should come up ahead of them.
That's good to hear.
We're certainly the biggest squad in the league, aren't we? Physically.
Yeah, there's a lot of tall players in our team. A lot of tall players.
Yeah, do you find it hard that you've got to actually look up to someone, whereas normally you're the tallest player in the squad?
Yeah, I seem to be looking up to quite a few players on this team. There's some size. There's some size.
The thing is, sometimes having some of the big guys, it makes the slightly less tall of you a little more anonymous, so you can sort of cut in around these bigger guys, and next thing you appear out of the middle of nowhere in front of the goal.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we've got a good mixture this year. We've got some big guys, but then we've got some quick, skillful players as well, which you don't just want a team full of huge guys, then you become a bit slow. But I think we've got a good mixture. We've got a good team together this year. We do.
I think the game in Bradford was really getting physical, and it showed how the guys are not going to get pushed around. No matter how the size difference of any of them on any of you guys on the team is.
No. Well, it's hockey. You're never going to let yourself get pushed around.
Actually worked for your advantage in some of the things, because one of the things I saw you do was flicking the puck behind their big D man.
Yeah.
And he couldn't turn, and you were around him.
Yeah. Can use it to some advantages, especially against other teams.
So the coming weeks we've got some interesting games coming up. We've unfortunately got a fixture move, but we've got sort of 2 back-to-back home games over the next couple of weeks. Take it as
the next couple of weeks will be quite good.
Yeah, but not having the double games, it's going to give you guys a bit more time to recover at least.
Yeah, it gives us a week rest. The next 2 games should be good. 2 tough tests, I think, Telford and Sutton. Should be good games. Just to get a bit of a word in on the Sutton game on the 17th. We've organised with Widnes, the video game store, that they're going to release NHL 18 before our game.
All right.
Well, there you go, everyone. If you're interested in that, get yourselves down to the rink for a big release. So, yes, we'll make sure they put that in the diary to remind you as the weeks go on, as we get build up to that game. So
keep an eye on. I think it'll be half two till about 4:30.
So that is with the game of Widnes.
The Sutton game.
At the Sutton game on the 17th of September. Right. Thanks for your diaries, everyone.
So I understand that you've got you're going to go on radio again this week.
Yeah. Radio Halton out of Halton Hospital. Myself and Georgia, the secretary of the Wild, will be going on that radio station just to talk briefly about the Wild, about ice hockey, about the new season, and then about the UK Sepsis Trust as well, and the discount for the NHS members.
So that'll be really good. So those of you who are able to get in, listening on Halton Hospital Radio, that's
on Wednesday.
On this Wednesday. There we go. What time?
From 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock in the morning.
And you mentioned a discount for the NHS people. Is that across the northwest? Do anyone know what's coming to see the game?
At the moment, all I know at the moment is just with us. For any member over the northwest in the NHS, yeah.
So anyone from say Warrington Hospital who wanted to come, and Halton Hospital. Yeah, that's a good way of getting people involved in the sport.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, our medical staff really came to their own the other weekend with Danny Bullock, of course.
Yeah, they did. He unfortunately got quite a bad injury that might take him out for quite a while of the season, but hopefully we can get him rested up and then get him back on the ice as soon as possible.
Well, he was
missing from the team.
He was spotted at the rink on Sunday. Couldn't keep him away.
Couldn't keep away.
Couldn't keep him away. No, that's right.
No, well, actually, we shall ask the question that you were going to ask anyway. You may as well get that question about goals. May as well ask Mikey that one.
All right, yes. We come up with a question when we were talking to Andy Turner the other night. What's the biggest team score you've been involved in on either losing or winning?
Let me think. I think highest scoring game I've been involved in, I think we've won 21-4 before in juniors.
All right.
Something like that.
And what's the other side of the coin?
The other side of the coin, I think I've lost 18-2 before. But I know just before I started playing hockey, the juniors at Altrincham, they did the biggest scoreline I've heard them lose by was 46-0.
Ouch.
And it was the first season at Altrincham, and they were playing in the first league, and they were playing the Sheffield team, which was basically the England squad, and they got battered like 46-0.
Oh. That's unfair.
That's a baptism of fire.
The game was 45 minutes long.
Oh, crumbs. There must have been some very, very tired legs.
Yeah, I think that might have been it. I'm glad I wasn't playing that game.
I bet you weren't. Oh, well. Oh, anyway, we better keep moving on because time is catching up with us. Thanks for coming on, Mikey.
No worries.
Give another quick plug out to your next show on Wednesday.
Yeah, just listening, man. I'm not sure what the numbers are, whatever the radio station point is, but it's Halton Radio at Halton Hospital. I'm not too sure what it is, but 10 o'clock Wednesday.
So there
it's 10 o'clock in the morning, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Well, so we should catch you at the weekend. And thanks for coming on.
Thanks very much
for
coming on, Michael.
Cheers, Colin. Cheers, Doug. See you later, Jeff.
Cheers.
And we also managed to catch up with Tom Ratcliffe at the end of the match, so we've got a few words from him.
Good evening. I'm here at the ice rink at Widnes with Tom Ratcliffe, having finished the game against Coventry Blaze, the score being 5-2. How do you think it went, Tom?
Good game. After playing Bradford yesterday, the boys came together pretty well. We could have been better in some parts, but it's good to be back on the ice with them, especially back in the home rink in front of the fans. It was good.
So we've got 2 more home games in the next couple of weeks. Are you looking forward to those?
Yeah, definitely. Home games obviously always better than playing away in front of our fans, and we'll definitely be winning both of those.
And what are you looking forward to this season?
Winning the league and then winning playoffs as well again.
Thanks very much, mate.
No worries. Thank you for having me.
So it's time to go through the What's On guide for events and things happening at and around Widnes and the Widnes Wild over the coming weeks. Of course, don't forget, you've got your website, Puckers Pals, Own and Loan shirts, season tickets and highlights. Now, don't forget, your Own and Loan shirts are going fast. Our next coach is for Sheffield on the 30th of September. Of course, Wild Supporters Club members, it's £4. Non-Supporters Club members, £7. And for kids with a paying adult, it's £1. Quick shout out for a birthday. Stacey's wishing our very own Carl Bungay happy birthday for Wednesday. So, happy birthday, Carl. What's coming up now, Doug?
Yeah, so we've got seem to have a plethora of home games. Sunday the 10th is we've got Telford Tigers. The next Sunday, the 17th, we've got the Suttons thing, where we've also got the game store coming down, as Mikey just mentioned. Then we have an away game on the 30th at the Sheffield Centres, and then on the 1st of October we play host to the Blackburn Hawks. Could be very interesting. All the RTL Widnes Wild home games are on Sunday and face off at 5:30.
I want one more thing, and a very big mention, I think, to come. A big congratulations to RTL Widnes Wild's very own Elvis Veltzer on the birth of his baby.
Yeah.
Yes, a £9 11 ounce baby Regnars, apparently it's been called. So yes, congratulations to Elvis.
Yes, congratulations, Elvis.
He's been missed on the ice, but he's been away for a very, very good reason. I think he deserved the break, don't you guys?
Yes.
Oh, we did, yes.
Yes.
But it shows we're not a one-man team.
No,
Because
but
everyone plays, so it's nice that he'll be back on.
yes, we'll be looking forward to seeing the big guy on the ice. I mean, he knows how to finish. So, Geoff, I take it you got a couple of nice photographs of his goal from the other week against Bristol.
Yes, I think I got a couple of shots out there of him on the ice as well. Profile type shots.
I said it last week about that second goal of his down at the clock end, where he kind of sort of deked and deked and deked.
It's just brilliant.
I take it that had some nice stills from it.
I think I did a 3-shot burst as he went in on the keeper. Yeah.
It just left, and then Ollie's follow-up goal at the same end. That was in and just faked him through. I mean, that one, again, those are quite nice ones when the keeper's trying to move across the goal to get a decent shot.
Yes, if they've got time to. The judgment really is depending which player it is. Is he going to shoot from outside of my viewfinder, or is he going to come into the into the keeper and go over his shoulder? So I have to just take a guess sometimes at that.
Well, actually, I've been thinking, a couple of friends of mine a while back were asking me about advice on cameras for doing stills rather than motion, and said, well, because I do a lot of videography, and I said, well, actually, to contact you, there's people at the rink, and in terms of if you were going to start out doing sports photography, be it slow sports like maybe a football or something, or rugby, versus a faster moving sport like ice hockey or a speedway or something like that, would you say you'd start with a particular type of camera, like a hybrid camera, rather than a full SLR? I think really starting with the best one you can afford is the trick. There aren't any bad ones now, I don't think. The standard of them at the moment, they're exceptional and getting better all the time. So the problem people would find with ice hockey is the low light. So outdoor sports where you're in daylight tend to be easier because you can get the fast shutter speeds, whereas if you're working in an ice rink, not so much ours, we've probably the best lit ice rink around. Coventry's good, Bradford's not, Nottingham's awful. Really?
Would you believe? Yeah.
What pad 2 would you say? Because I've filmed in pad 1, and that's really well lit.
Yes, the one the Lions use. You can take 3 shots in Nottingham and get 3 different colour casts because of the lights.
Oh, yeah. They must be using an LED light or something.
I think they must be buying cheap bulbs, yeah.
No. I've filmed in the NIC, but I filmed on the big pad where the Panthers play for a GB game, and the lights in there are just phenomenally good. But I know there's some rinks where it can be almost yellow, and even in post it's very hard to get a decent light balance.
Yes.
And the trick for the current camera I've got is getting a good white balance and consistent white balance. And that is always a key in something like ice hockey, because of the ice, because all of a sudden your footage can turn yellow. Yes.
And I'm okay at Widnes, obviously, and most of the other rinks are fine. There's just 2 or 3 rinks. Solihull used to be a very dark place to shoot. But getting the white balance right is key to getting the faces lit properly. So I tend to set it up, and as I shot at Widnes on Sunday in manual, because it's a consistent light.
I noticed the mount you use. You've got instead of using the mount for the tripod or your monopod on the bottom of the camera, you actually have an attachment around the lens. Is there a particular reason why you have that? particular style of mount rather than having it sat on the bottom of the camera.
Yes, it's the that's the 300mm that I use quite regularly. It's the weight of the lens. It would pull on the camera body mount, so you take the weight of the lens through the monopod, rather than if I had the camera on the monopod, the weight of the lens would be pulling away from the camera, and it damages the mount.
There you go, a useful tip for our budding photographers out there, is to keep an eye on the weight of your lenses, of course.
And carry them by the lens, not by the camera body when there's a big lens on them.
Do you have probably difficult with all the photos you've taken over the years, do you have a favourite shot?
I have a favourite shot from this year,
All
I have
right.
to say, and I've brought it with me. It was a snap from the American football. I went to Canada with the Great Britain women's team for the World Championships, and we got through to the bronze medal playoff game, and I was messing about with the GB fans in the stand, taking photographs of them as the Mexican team came off the pitch, and I just turned and started snapping the Mexican girls as they came towards me. And I've got one shot that I just love of one of the Mexican girls who is she's just looking at me, and that you can tell she's just about to start a game of American football, a serious game, and I'm the Great Britain photographer, and she's pointing at me and thinking, you are not going to win.
Yeah, you can see the fire in her eyes.
Yes.
And it is a really good shot. So I mean, there's some shots. I mean, we were chatting before we came on air about a couple of missed opportunities, and there's a couple for our returnee Danny Bracegirdle.
Oh dear.
And we were talking particularly about a game in Nottingham and a game in Widnes, where you unfortunately weren't able to get the shot, but because I was already, the Widnes game, I got it on video, but you're a bit gutted about those.
I was, and it was all my fault. and this is a lesson that I learned. Nottingham, Danny scored after about 3 seconds, and I was still in the cafe. And he only goal of the season.
Right.
I'd not got it. And then I think it was the following season he scored that winner against D-side at our place.
Yeah. And it's a case of, Danny, what are you doing that high up? You know, you should be passing out from vertigo. You're a D-man. You weren't there.
And do you know what? I had a camera in one hand and a battery in the other.
Oh dear. While we have a fit of the giggles, I think we'll take a break for another song. So what should we have again then? You've got your list. Pick one. They're all queued up.
It's Randy Crawford, Street Light.
We're here, of course, with Geoff White, our resident photographer. So, Geoff, what would you say one of the biggest challenges you've had with your photography career has been?
That's an interesting one. I think for sports, I did a training course at Wembley a few years ago, and I don't normally. I'm pretty laid back. I don't normally sort of suffer from nerves, but this was Saracens versus Harlequins, and every year Saracens, Harlequins, the two London teams. Saracens' home game is at Wembley, and Harlequins' home game for the derby is at Twickenham, and they fill it. And Saracens filled Wembley that day, and there were a group of probably half a dozen of us on a Nikon training course, and we actually walked out of the tunnel to 80,000 people around Wembley.
Whoa.
And it's a fabulous course, and you know, because the guy that takes it is Mark Payne. He was the Sunday Mirror photographer for many years, and he does these really good training courses, individual tuition, but I was so nervous.
Yeah.
I was so nervous walking around that pitch, and I was actually behind the hoardings at one end, shooting in, and you're very close to the pitch and to the players, and that was very, very difficult, because surprisingly the lighting at Wembley is quite tricky with the roof, because you get very dark patches and very light patches, so we had to set the cameras up with the sensitivity, the ISO floating, so that it moved up and down, so if you pointed into the light you had a lower sensitivity. If you turn the camera, because you don't have time to think, you just follow the action, as you turned away to follow the action into the dark areas of the stadium, the camera automatically adjusted to get the shot.
I mean, it's quite funny when you're watching sort of certain sports matches, rugby or league or union. Otherwise, because we're in very much a rugby league country, I have to give them both a plug. And football matches where they've got the TV cameras, and next thing you can't see it and the poor TV cameras are struggling. I mean, it must be very, very hard for you guys when you're actually down pitch side trying to get a decent shot.
It's the same problem that you sometimes see that on Match of the Day, where the faces are very white when they go into the light, and then you can barely see the players' faces when they turn into the dark. So that rugby is generally not such a tricky game to photograph, because it's very it's very sideways. If you shoot from the side of the pitch, you get the two teams crashing into each other, and you can see what's coming, and the ball's throwing out sideways and kicking diagonals. If you're behind the try line at the far end looking out, you know what's happening, you know what's coming towards you. You don't get the general action, but you do stand a chance of the killer shot of a try. So it's all about where you position yourself with a lot of sport.
So thinking back to ice hockey shots, I mean, you said about some of the rinks which is really good, and are there any particular rinks where you've had a really bad position to try and shoot from?
Some of the glass at Sheffield is awful to shoot through,
and the netting.
The netting at a lot of places can be a problem. The netting at Bradford on Saturday is a thinner netting, and you can actually focus right through it. So a lot of the shots at that end of the ice wouldn't notice that they were actually shot through the netting. Solihull, it used to be like thick rope, and you'd always get that sort of line across the photograph.
And there's a lot of different ways rinks are lit, as you said earlier on, and it can make for a very interesting set of shots, particularly if the lights are out in a particular part of the rink.
Yes.
And I've noticed it when I'm trying to film with the video camera. I mean, you've sometimes shown me some shots and you think, crikey, they're dark, and they don't look dark to me. How do you define what's a good shot and what's a bad shot?
Another of the great advantages of digital is you can play with it later. So I tend to try and get a balance across the board, but when we've got lights out, you get pools of darkness appearing on the ice. I just ignore that, and if I happen to get what I think is a good action shot, which to me is a big hit with a bent stick and the puck flying off the stick, I'll just go into post Photoshop and bring the light up a bit to cover it, so you can compensate for it. You can also change the white balance if you need to later.
It kind of contradicts the old Bucks Fizz song, "My camera never lies." Photoshop's kind of put pay to that in digital photography.
Well, it doesn't change the shot, does it? It just changes the colour of the light.
I don't know. You've not had the need to do a big Photoshop on any of the players yet, have you? I mean, they're all they're all very nice guys, and they all present themselves very well. They not ask for extra muscles or anything to beef them out.
No, they don't need it.
No, actually, most of them don't now. No. So, for this coming season, are you going to plan on getting around to many of the road games, or are you mainly focusing on home games?
I'm going to try and get to a few more. I didn't get to many last year. One of the problems being I do a lot of freelance stuff on a Sunday, so anywhere that's within range I'll try and get to.
You also have another love, and I'm going to allow you to say what your other love is, because all's fair in sports here. So your other passion.
Yes, Everton.
Yeah, I'm going to bite my tongue over my usual because I'm a red.
No, you're not allowed. No, you're not allowed to have fights.
No, you don't have Liverpool and Everton supporters. To me, don't have fights.
Disagreements.
Yes, you have appropriate disagreements.
Yes,
I've known many. I mean, my boss at work is an Evertonian, so I do bleed blue from time to time when they're not playing Liverpool. But no, it does make for an extra, set of talking points between people when you're out places. You talk football, but then how do people react when you say, actually, I go to ice hockey?
Yeah. What surprises me is where I live, which isn't far away. There's still a lot of people don't know about Widnes Wild.
Well,
so I'm always trying to press, the news. But somebody said to me the other day that they weren't aware.
So there you go, listener. That there's your task of the week. A little bit of homework from us at Time to Go Wild Radio. Go out there, and whenever you see people, you've got to express your love of our sport. I mean, it's a fantastic sport.
Well, it is, yes.
Where else, as we say it from time to time, can the guys go out on the ice, bounce off each other like a set of rubber balls, maybe, say hello to each other in a rather fisticuffsy way, and then sit down and have a lemonade or two afterwards? Yeah. There's not many sports that you can do that.
I think it all comes down to respect.
Yeah.
You play hard and you relax.
Yeah.
And when you relax, it's like, that was really good. I particularly like the way you boarded me, but
I'm going to ask, I primed you with this question earlier, and you know the question's coming. Hollywood are making your life story. Who's going to be your leading man and who's going to be your leading lady?
Well, I'm struggling here, but I would have to say I think probably Donald Sutherland in Kelly's Heroes.
Oh, daring.
Pretty laid back at times.
Yeah.
But and I would also have to say, think of a blonde actress that's stunning, and that would have to be my wife.
Oh, bless. Got to love it.
Got to say it.
Well, we're almost out of time for another week. It's just coming up to 8 o'clock.
There's one quick thing I wanted to mention. The chap who won the T-shirt last week, Mark Boyle, he wants to raffle it for Danny Bullock. So we're going to get Danny to sign it, and then we're going to have a raffle with Danny Bullock, that T-shirt that Mark signed.
Oh, well, that's really nice of you. Thank you, Mark. That's brilliant. Well, that's it for another week. We're going to be handing over the airwaves to Don't Adjust Your Crystal Set very shortly, but I'll be back on tomorrow evening from 10 with more musical mayhem from the Box of Delights, and both of us will be back next Monday with more of a news, views, and interesting points. And don't forget, drop us a message, radio@widneswild.co.uk, or through Facebook or Twitter. TTGW Radio is our little handle at the end. And we have to get all this stuff out. And of course, if you've got any birthdays, as Stacey did earlier for Carl, happy birthday for Carl. And anyone else in the up and coming weeks, drop us a quick shout out here at Time to Go Wild Radio. We want to make you feel all comfortable, welcome, and embraced.
Yes, we do, yes.
So thanks, Geoff, for coming in.
Thank you.
Anyone has any tips or questions, drop them through, and we can always pass them through to Geoff as well. And of course, we're very amenable on game night. You know where to find us.
Come and see me. Yeah.
In the meantime, that's it for another week.
Good night.
Time to go wild. Good night.
Good night.